Sup nerds, I'm Wes. This is the part where Tom would insist on making a Phoenix pun. So if you've seen any videos on Ashes or Ashes Reborn, I'm sure you've probably heard some Phoenix jokes. And that's because this game really did sort of rise from the ashes, as they say. Because this is the 1.5 version they're calling it. It's not a true second edition, but they did do a relaunch and a cleaning up of some of the rules, mechanics, and the cards in the game. And they're calling it Ashes Reborn, really sticking to the Phoenix theme because all the people you play as are called Phoenixborn. And now this really is a 1v1 competitive card game. Although there are ways to bring in multiple players, you can play like a 3-player or a 4-player version. There's also multiple different ways you can construct decks. They do have like pre-built decks that come in the box. The base game comes with these 6 decks you have here. You can also custom build your own deck for like competitive play, or there's also a draft that you can do. Personally, I like to keep things casual and just use the pre-built decks. I have done a little bit of deck building with this game, but with my playstyle and kind of my time I have for playing games, I really do like to stick with pre-built decks, which I think this game, I really love that about this game, that it plays so well right out of the box. And then all the expansions you can get that come as another pre-built deck that you could play as, or you can use those cards to build out your competitive deck if that's what you want to do. And I think competitive is kind of why they went for a relaunch of this game. At least in my area, competitive play really didn't go anywhere. When it first came out, everyone was really excited about it. The thought of using dice as mana instead of cards was really exciting because you eliminate the whole magic mana lock where you just you don't have any mana, so you can't do anything. Everybody starts with all of their dice, all of your mana or your resources with which to pay for cards and abilities and all of those things. You have access to all of it right from the beginning, and it all is how do you use these dice, and there is how do you roll them, but there's really no bad rolls, because even if you have just the lowest tier roll on the die, there's still plenty of things you can do with those, either with your cards or just with the dice abilities. But yeah, competitive play really never took off as far as I could tell. And that is something that you really need to keep a game like this going for years and years and years. Now, the first edition really did, I think, get a pretty good run. There's a lot of decks out there. There's big box expansions for it. But I think with the relaunch, they're really hoping to clean up some of the rules and really get competitive play going, which I think is part of why Team Covenant is so involved, because those guys do such a good job going in depth, showing gameplay, getting people hyped. And I think that if this is going to stand a chance in the competitive arena, those guys are definitely going to be some of the people to help carry this game to that level. But before I go any farther, I do want to let you know what this game is, because maybe you haven't played the original Ashes Rise of the Phoenixborn, or you're just here to check out what is Ashes Reborn. And like I said, it's a competitive game, and the way it works is you have your deck of cards. You do get to pre-select your opening hand, which I think is super cool, because again, nothing is up to chance with that first draw. Well, your dice are up to chance, but you get to start with your opening hand, whatever you want it to be. You roll your dice, and then you go back and forth casting actions or abilities until you've both passed. And all the cards have a casting cost or a playing cost that cost various amounts of dice. Some of them is just 1 die. Some of them may need multiple. Some of them you may need to use some of your dice to change the face of other dice to get them to play. So it really is up to you just how many dice you want to commit action to action, or you can kind of slow play it, because if your opponent spends a bunch of their dice, if they spend all their dice to do 3 or 4 actions and you're just spending 1 at a time, you have 10 dice here. So you're obviously going to get a lot more actions in that round than your opponent, and that may leave things open for you to hit them once they're already exhausted out. Really cool mechanic to let you really craft how you want to play the game. But like Magic or a lot of other competitive deck games, you are going to be casting out creatures in front of you. You have abilities that you can play. You actually have like a really cool sideboard where it's a spell, because the spells you lock in on the board and you can continue go back to that spell once you have it in your book and recast it. So some of the spells may be additional creatures from your sideboard. So you have those creatures out there, and the goal is to kill your opponent's Phoenixborn. So they all have starting health that varies. I think the lowest here is 15 and the highest is 20. So that's your health. You're trying to eliminate your opponent's Phoenixborn, but you have to get through all of their creatures that are blocking them, or you can even use your Phoenixborn to block your creatures if maybe you need that for a big play. So I send my creatures to go attack that side of the board. They send their creatures to come attack my side of the board. We cast spells, we cast abilities, we go back and forth, until eventually one of the Phoenixborn is eliminated and the opponent wins. The biggest thing that hooked me in this game was honestly the artwork. Like, they definitely maintained fantastic artwork in the 1.5 relaunch, but even the base game, like the white box, the vibrant, saturated artwork, absolutely gorgeous. And then after that, it was the dice mana. Like, I always loved dice. I loved rolling dice. So the fact that those dice got to be what I used instead of just like hoping that I drew resources from my deck was really fantastic for me. So in the refresh, I think, part of why it's only a 1.5 relaunch is because the actual game is very similar. Like, if you aren't like super into Ashes, I hadn't played it in quite a while before I got the Ashes Reborn box. So I didn't have like a super, like, this is how you play. I had to go through and reread the rules again. Obviously, I wanted to read the rules to see what second edition it was all about. But I did not actually see much of a difference. Like, going from probably over a year since I've played the original game to playing this one, nothing jumped out at me as like, oh, that's super different. Like, it all looks the same. It feels the same. Putting them side by side, a lot of the cards in the game have been rewritten or altered or slightly tweaked. There are some like keywords that have been eliminated from the game. There are some timing things that change as far as like when the cards actually trigger, the timing of when you can interrupt, what gets to finish. That's all been reworked to kind of balance the game a little bit more, help it flow a little better. Because I remember some of the timing stuff in the first edition could get a little clunky where you'd have to like pull the rulebook out and see, okay, this time's here. Like, if a card had multiple effects on it, figuring out when interrupts could happen, when they couldn't, when I could counter, like, that was all a little bit wishy-washy. So they've simplified some of that to help keep the game more streamlined. You're referencing the rulebook less in this edition. Like, the dice coloring is slightly different. I don't know if that's just so that, like, you want to have the new dice. If you, like, there's no reason you can't take the dice from the first edition game and bring it into the 1.5. And actually, you don't even have to get the whole box of 1.5 because they do have an upgrade kit you can get, because a lot of people have everything for Ashes. They don't want to go rebuy that. So that one upgrade kit will bring everything up to the 1.5 standard so you can play with those. Yeah, I honestly am just really excited that this game is getting a second chance to take the spotlight, because I really do love this game. Everyone I play it with, honestly, like, most people I've played this game with think it really is fantastic. I think the competitive circuit not taking off is probably what killed it. And honestly, like, there's tons of games in the market, because going after those competitive games like Magic and Pokemon and those like really competitive games is really difficult, especially if your name's not Fantasy Flight Game, because this is really going after kind of that LCG crowd as well, because it is that you're not cracking packs, you're not getting mystery cards, it's all set cards that you're building your decks out. I think this was a really good foray into that genre. And again, I personally love the dice aspect to it. There are some people out there that can't stand dice, and obviously if you hate dice, that's a turnoff for you, because there is some luck of what you roll. But I think that's just so great because it eliminates so much of the like getting locked up. I don't want to over strategize. I kind of want to like let the game run its course and like follow where the game takes me. So with that mentality, the dice are fantastic. The biggest thing I want to say is just that I absolutely love Ashes. I like Ashes Reborn just as much. The artwork is fantastic. The gameplay is fantastic. The component quality is next level. I highly recommend checking out Ashes. If it's something that has sparked your interest and you're here thinking, hey, is this a game I want to get into? I 100% want to say yes. Get into it. Get the base box. If someone's getting rid of their first edition Ashes and you're not looking to get into the competitive scene, like, go for it. I really do think that for me personally, the first edition Ashes holds up just as well. I would be more than happy to play that game any day of the week. I think it was top 10 for me the year it came out. I think that it's unique. I think that they had a lot of innovation. I'm going to keep going back to the artwork because I really do think the artwork in this game is just stunning. So guys, if you are looking to pick this up, there's going to be a purchase link in the description box down below. Again, highly recommend you checking it out. And if you're looking for a new gaming table upon which to play your new game of Ashes, I also highly recommend game toppers. Playing a game like this on a game topper really does help the whole experience. The padding on there makes picking up cards way easier. The dice, it's like a quiet when you roll your dice on this mat, and the lip helps the card or the dice not roll off the table and you're having to play Jumanji rules and go find them somewhere across the house. If you're looking for a gaming table, I can definitely recommend that you check out Game Toppers. Either way, guys, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.